Alright, giving this a shot here. I am in my car. I am driving to Durham, North Carolina from Baltimore, Maryland. August 15th. Supposed to play in Durham tonight, but it's probably a good chance that it will get canceled. There was always the chance of a rain cancellation, but sadly it seems like they're going to be canceling because the outdoor area is being renovated, and I guess they didn't get it done the way they wanted, and they want to not have music out there. It's a shame they did it to me, who's already driving 5 hours to do the gig, but part of the game, I guess, just how it is. Regardless, I have a gig in Jacksonville, North Carolina tomorrow night, so I still need to make the drive down here, so regardless, it was going to be a pain in the ass. I was going to need to be this way and come this way anyway, so there's that. Played at Coakley's Pub last night. That was a lot of fun. My stepdad came out. He's been asking me to do Boot, Scoot, and Boogie for a while, and I was a little reluctant to try it. I've been listening to it, and I was going to try it, and then I got cold feet, so I played some other songs, and then I was like, you know what? Let's give it a shot, and I think it actually went pretty good. He really enjoyed it. So I'll be trying to work that into some more of my sets. I've been wanting to add more country, but I prefer older country stuff, not the a lot of the modern stuff people want to hear. But yeah, so that's what's going on musically. I've got my album release next week. I'm really excited about that. We're doing it at Monument City Brewing Company with our good friends Old Eastern and Hilly Jude from the podcast performing. So that's going to be a really great show. We're going to record it, all that good stuff. So if this is out and you check it out, try to come out. It's going to be a great night. The album is out. It's been out. I hope you've had a chance to listen to it. It's 10 years in the making. When I first recorded Amber Eyes, which was my first single, that was the intention was to make an album, and and then I kind of sidelined my music career for about 5 years when I got my new job, and just kind of a lot of life changes centered around that, and so I finally got back to the music. I've been putting out music pretty steadily the past 5 years or so. And yeah, it's out now, 7 songs. Go check it out. I've got some music videos in the work. I'm really excited about those. And currently stuck in traffic in Fredericksburg. I think it's Fredericksburg, Virginia. No road work, no road work, no accidents, plenty of lanes of traffic, yet somehow they've managed to turn this into a clusterfuck. It's ridiculous. So I've been sitting in this for the past 30 minutes. But I think it's going to be a good day. Even if I can't do the gig, I'll probably go hang out at the venue, have a couple drinks, get some dinner. I was supposed to do it as a duo. I hit up a guy down there, Jeff. Kind of made a wide post about the gig, and said, hey, anyone want to jump in and play percussion with me? Because initially I was going to have Taylor do it with me on the keys, but he is currently en route to his new life in San Diego, California, which is, I'm really happy for him. I'm sure he's going to kick ass out there. But, I've got to find, some new guys to do these duo gigs with me. So, really hoping me and Jeff get to jam some songs tonight and hang out with the people in Durham. I've played in Durham a few times now. It's a beautiful little town just outside of Raleigh, I think. And, be playing some stuff off the new album, some classics, some Will Sims classics, and then, always trying to add new songs to the list. I've been listening to some Placebo lately, so I've been trying to add them to my repertoire. So, not a mainstream band, but they've got some really cool stuff. And then, sorry, I got a Volkswagen here that's just kind of, the lane's ended, but he's not merging into my lane. He's just, it's like, come on over, bro. I'm leaving you space. I had to do some shoulder driving earlier because the lane I was in was ending, and everyone was trying to pull the we're not going to let you over card. So I was just like, fuck all y'all. I'll drive up the shoulder and get in front of somebody else. Not happy about it, not proud about it, but, if you're going to be a dickhead, I'll leave you in the dust. Alright, so, been doing these movie reviews on my social channels, just trying to, trying not to crash, just trying to build up my connections with entertainment-related things, because I do like talking a lot of general entertainment stuff, but been watching a lot of stuff lately. I've been to the movies a few times, a lot more than usual, but, a lot of good movies came out. So, obviously there was Thunderbolts, which was really awesome. Really great movie. I don't know if I did a review on that one. I may not have started doing those yet, but I just wanted to talk for a few minutes about that because I feel like it was really, it's one of those movies that I've just been recommending to everyone because everyone that I talked to has been kind of saying how they weren't really that interested in it because, everything that they've been watching had been kind of subpar and they didn't really care much about the characters that were in the movie. And I was trying to tell them, they really did a good job writing the movie because even though, they kind of set a lot of the characters up as, people you don't really like, they actually really did a great job landing, making you care about the characters and the struggles they're going through. And it was a really entertaining movie. The humor was good. The action was good. And it does play into, what's coming up. So that's really cool. And then I saw the new Superman movie. The new Superman movie was great. Wasn't perfect. I was a little more critical of certain things. But obviously, I just, I wanted a good Superman movie, and it was a good Superman movie. Most of the things I didn't like were just I think stylistic things, what is it, James Gunn. James Gunn sometimes has a tendency to give these characters that are like not even like side characters. They're literally just like random henchmen, and they get like goofy lines and stuff like that. Like people that I don't really care about. You know, like I'd much rather more screen time be given, or more dialogue be given to like the main characters to kind of build them up a little more. Because I did feel like Lex Luthor was like a little underutilized in it. Like he's a good villain and he's menacing and all that stuff, but you know, it felt like there was a lot of times where they were like, all right, well, this guy will say something funny here, and I was just like, that was completely unnecessary. So, aside from those little nitpicks, like the action was good, all the main characters were really well done. They had good humor, good action sequences. I was pretty happy with it as a start to what's going to be the new DC universe. I was pretty pumped. So then I got to see the new Fantastic Four movie, which was also really good. I felt like they really finally got the Fantastic Four right. And Galactus was amazing. I mean, it's not like wasn't as like surprising of a movie. Like I felt like Thunderbolts probably was the biggest surprise because it was so good, and I was just expecting to kind of have fun. Whereas like Fantastic Four, I was just hoping it would be good, and it was good. So it met my expectations of what I wanted. And like now I'm really excited to see them come back and see what they're going to do with them next. But it's not like nothing like too spoilery that happens. Like the movie's pretty straightforward. I think the biggest thing was just making sure that they did a good job bringing the Fantastic Four to the big screen, and I think they did that. So yeah, I mean, those were the big movies I watched. I did finally watch Jurassic World Rebirth, which was better than I thought it was going to be. I did watch a lot of reviews that made it seem pretty bad. And, obviously it wasn't great. Like, it's obviously really hard to live up to Jurassic Park. And, I always loved The Lost World. Like, I don't understand a lot of the hate that movie gets. I felt like it was a pretty good sequel. And, Jurassic Park 3, has its moments, but, when the first Jurassic World came out, I was pretty happy with that. I felt like it was a good way to bring back the franchise, but then the next two Jurassic World movies I felt like really went downhill. So this new one felt like a step in the right direction, although it did feel like a little unfocused, and I still felt like they could have did a little bit of better job fleshing out the characters. Sometimes with these movies, I feel like they really don't give the characters any sort of depth, or really enough depth, But overall, the action sequences were really well done. Like I felt like they did a better job with, making the dinosaurs scary again and making you, kind of, concerned for what's going to happen to the characters instead of just being like, you can eat them, I don't care. I think about the first Jurassic Park movie. Even though not as many characters had a lot of screen time, they're still kind of at least handled in a way where you feel like either bad or like what's the one guy, Dennis Nedry. Like when he gets eaten, you're just like, yeah, fuck that guy. That's what he gets. But they do enough with the characters, or they utilize things in an interesting enough way to really make it memorable. Whereas a lot of the other movies, it's very, they just kill off the people you don't care about, or they don't really do anything interesting or scary to make the depth. I was talking about this with some people at work, how a bunch of the recent like Alien and Predator movies like weren't really that good. I mean, I really liked Romulus. Romulus was really good, and I really liked Prey. But like for a while there, like the Alien vs Predator movies, Predators was okay, but The Predator was really bad, I think. But it's like, the things that made like Predator and Alien and Aliens like these classic movies is you have these characters and, maybe they don't get like that much depth, but at least they're like memorable enough that, you kind of understand where they're coming from. You understand how they feel being in the situation they're in. And, like a lot of the deaths in those movies aren't really that bloody or gory. Like most of the time it's kind of left up to the imagination, and a lot of times with these newer movies, they're just very like, oh, this guy gets shot in the head, oh, this guy gets, stabbed through the chest, like whatever, like it's just very like, boom, they're dead, all right, let's move on to the next thing, whereas before, like, I felt like in those older movies, like they really give you time to like, like feel something for this character who just died, And I feel like that's been missing with a lot of those movies for a while, and I do feel like they're kind of starting to finally get back to, trying to really do some memorable stuff, because these franchises are so unique, these creatures and stuff. And, same with Jurassic World, like there's not, like what's another big dinosaur franchise? Like, you have the chance to do like really cool, interesting stuff, and like when you go the route of like, all right, a dinosaur's going to run by, and then the guy's just gone. It's like, all right, well that's not very interesting, So with the new one, there was like a couple deaths where like, even though like it wasn't like crazy creative, like it was still like there's a couple times where like with the dinosaur will like carry a person off, and you'll just be like shit, I don't want to be that person, because it didn't even kill them in the spot. Like you can hear them screaming while they're getting carried away. And I was like, all right, that's actually kind of terrifying. Like it didn't even eat them right there. It's like taking them somewhere else to get eaten. And it's just like, ugh, that's pretty scary. So I ended up at the end of the day, I was like, all right, like Jurassic World Rebirth was pretty good. It was it was not, maybe not the movie I wanted, but it ended up being an entertaining watch. So there's that. I've been watching the new season of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. That I haven't been as big of a fan of. There's some funny episodes. Like there's a couple episodes like the Mac and Dennis become EMTs. That felt like a really classic Sunny premise, where there's just like everyone's kind of doing a different thing, and the way it all kind of converges is pretty nuts. But just like in general, like I felt like it hasn't been as funny as like previous seasons. Like the last few seasons were like, I felt like landed pretty good, so this definitely felt like more like a bit of a weaker season, but for the most part, I felt like the show's done a pretty good job of maintaining its level of quality. And I imagine as like, the people from that show go and do more bigger things, like, it's like less time they have to put into making It's Always Sunny the show that it was, but I think next week's season finale, I'm pretty excited for that episode. That was the one like in the marketing that I was like the most excited to see. So I'm really hoping that they deliver on that front. But yeah, trying to think of what else. I know I did a quick review of Ironheart. I know some people were asking me to elaborate more on that in the comments, and like basically, like I didn't go into Ironheart with high expectations, I do feel like they did that. They went the route of like, we're going to put it out pretty quickly, and a lot of times that move kind of feels like, all right, well, clearly they don't have a lot of faith in this show if it feels like they're just putting it out. Like they kind of did that with Echo, and even Echo, like Echo wasn't bad. It just like I don't think it was interesting enough to win over people who weren't already on board with the character. But like it wasn't like a bad show. Like I think the weakest part was the finale of Echo. But with Ironheart, like I actually felt like they actually tried to tell like a decent story, like a interesting story about a character who's went through this horrible tragedy, and that's why she was driven to become this person that creates this, it's like a version of the Iron Man suit, and and the PTSD she feels from that, and how that's kind of led to her kind of making the choices that she does in the show. Because I would say in the show she makes a lot of bad choices, but I kind of understand why she goes that route, and I felt like her arc throughout the show was very well played. Like it wasn't like I'm making bad choices, but they're going to lead to me being a good person. It's like the show actually ends with like her dealing with the consequences of her actions, which I thought was a really good twist. And then the whole season finale, which I don't want to spoil in case anybody goes and watches it, but like the character they introduce is like a pretty big Marvel character, and I think they do it in a really cool and interesting way where like it's not like they're prematurely like blowing I'm trying to think of a good way to say it. They didn't waste having him there. Like they kind of kept it like pretty like kind of pulled back and straightforward, but leaving room to do some really cool stuff with this character moving forward. And then the show as a whole, like the way they kind of tied it into other MCU stuff was like, it was subtle but it had the way it kind of like ties back into like Iron Man and stuff, so kind of understand that a little bit. I do feel like they probably could have did a better job explaining like why she wanted to build the Iron Man suit. Like it did feel like a bit of like she probably could have did something that was a little bit different looking, if there wasn't a reason in particular that her suit looks like Iron Man, and but they didn't really dive into that too much. But in general, like I want to say like there's like a point towards like the later half where it kind of starts to be like, all right, like can we just get to wherever this is going? But then like the finale kind of really delivers on like the setup for like the main villain of the show, and then kind of having like a pretty cool final showdown and how that all ties together. I think that like like in comparison to like Echo and maybe some of the other shows they've done, like Ironheart was a pretty big step up and kind of surprising in its quality. And again, like I say this a lot, like it's not for everybody. I don't expect everybody to go and like it. I think the thing that most people like don't think about is like every like any character that's had any sort of success, it doesn't resonate with everybody. Even like John McClane, like Die Hard. A lot of people might consider Die Hard a perfect movie, but there's still people out there that don't like it. That's just not what they're into. They're not into a cop having to shoot terrorists and stuff like that. But there's a lot of people who are, and and that's great. But a character like Ironheart, like I don't expect everybody to be into her. I don't expect everyone There's probably people that if they sat there and forced themselves to watch the show, they would hate everything she does because they feel like she's just making one bad choice after another, and they can't really, and they don't care about the things she's been to, and that's just kind of like the way it is, and I understand and respect that, but like I think the biggest sin is when it feels like a movie or a show is put out without like any care put into it whatsoever about like making the character likable. Like She-Hulk, I didn't think that was a great show. Like I think the best parts of that show were the first couple episodes where you kind of tied into the Hulk. But even then, by the time it got to like the second episode, like it was quickly going downhill with like the silliness and the things that were happening on it. But at the end of the day, like I felt like Tatiana Maslany as She-Hulk was a good pick, and I do feel like the show around her was very poorly handled, and I don't know if that was a matter of they thought that that's what people wanted, or they were, it did feel like we were in a stretch there where they were like, let's just try different things, and some of it landed and some of it didn't. But in general, you want the quality to be there. You want to feel like they're really trying to make something good. And I felt like that with Ironheart. They were trying to make something really good, and they, And I don't know much about I always hear stuff about reshoots and stuff like to me, if they're doing reshoots, that means that maybe they see something that's wrong, or they're trying to, something's not going together the way they like. And they're trying to correct that. And to me, that's a sign that they want to make something good, But I think I've rambled about the MCU enough. I really want to see some of these other movies that have been coming out. I still haven't seen Sinners yet. I feel like that's a sin in and of itself. I've heard people say they didn't like it, but I've heard an overwhelming amount of people say that they loved it. And then that Weapons movie is out too, which I've been hearing great things about. But in general, I'm trying to. We finally have the AC unit installed in what will be the new podcast space. We're going to work towards, doing some weatherproofing type stuff to make sure that space is hospitable year-round, so that I can really work towards doing the podcast on a regular basis. Because right now it's just kind of, the spaces I've been using have been tough, and it's always frustrating when you have a lot of projects on the plate and you're just kind of slowly working through them, and you I kind of need to step back from doing the podcast to focus on getting things done so that I can focus on doing the podcast. It's kind of like the cycle of life. But, I've been listening to some artist releases, some people that have been dropping music, and I'm hoping to have them on sometime soon, so we can, I can keep doing what I've been doing with it, which is so much fun. It's always fun sitting down and talking to people and learning more about their story and talking about how they write their music. And, hoping to do more of that. But, I'm getting close to Richmond. I did have to break this up into segments because I was getting phone calls in the midst of recording this. But yeah, the traffic between, right before Fredericksburg going into Richmond, it's just been trash the whole way down. And I'm still hoping that the gig won't be canceled and we'll somehow be able to make it happen. They should be updating me any minute here about the situation. But, a lot of cool things in the works. I'll announce those when they're ready to be announced. not a big fan of announcing announcements. I have an announcement to make. I will be making an announcement, and I will announce it tomorrow. I always thought that was silly, but I mean, I get it. It works, building anticipation. But I always, it's just funny. I always like Taylor Swift's approach, where she's just like, "Oh, by the way, a new album's coming out tonight, so go listen to it." I've always thought that was a sick approach. Yeah, man. Be on the lookout. I'm trying to keep things moving here. Make sure you're subscribing to my YouTube or following on wherever you're listening to podcasts at. I really need that support because I'm really trying to build this up into something. This whole thing started as kind of an outlet, and it's really turned into like one of the more fun things I've done. And I wish I could do it, almost full time. I wish I could get like sponsors and stuff and really make it into something special. But just like with all things, it's a process, and hoping that if you keep making that progress, you'll have that breakthrough, and you'll reach the people you want to reach. But I hope you all are doing okay out there. I know it's tough lately. Lots of craziness going on in the world. I hope that you're trying to be good to each other. Whether you agree with somebody or disagree with them, we're all just people out here trying to live life the best we can. Obviously there's some real shitheads out there. People that won't let you merge in traffic. But sorry, I'm still a little salty about that. But I think at the end of the day, everyone's just trying to do their best, and we all have our moments of weakness. And we just gotta not let that drag us down and keep pushing forward. I have rough moments. I was, before I left today, I was like, I've had like a crack in my shower wall, and I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna be gone for a couple of days. Let me hit this with this, bathroom caulk. Try to seal this up. It'll have a couple days to dry, and it'll be good. That was probably the most infuriating task that I was trying to do this morning before I left. I bought this, caulk that was for the bathroom. Had the caulk gun. I was, trying to, clip the thing, put it in the caulk gun. I'm like squeezing the thing, nothing's coming out. It says you got to pierce the thing on the top. So I keep trying to do that. I'm squeezing it. The thing goes all the way into the gun. The gun goes all the way into the bottle. Nothing comes out the front. I was just like, what is happening right now? Like, it's literally like this caulk is defying the laws of physics just to not work. So I ended up having to just take it out of the gun and try to smear it on the wall with my hand. Like, it was not pretty. It was gross. And then to top it all off, I go to get up. I'm fully clothed at this point because I was getting ready to walk out the door to get in the car to drive. I go to get up, back of my shirt catches the shower handle, turns the shower on with me in the shower, fully clothed. I was losing it. It was a real moment of weakness there, but I thought I'd share that with you. It was quite the experience, Not something that I'm going to turn into a song anytime soon, but it was quite a moment. But yeah, share with me your tales of struggle regarding home improvement. We're really trying to keep the place we have really nice because it's been in the family for a long time, and we talk about doing some upgrades a lot. So we're trying to keep the house nice. So, yeah, I think I'll probably sign off here. Remember, go check out the new album. Like, share, subscribe, whatever you do. Comment, engage with what I'm doing. Let me know that you're listening. That's always the hardest thing. You know, I'll run into people, you know, months, years after the fact who tell me they listen to something. I was like, why can't you drop a comment on one of my posts? Let me know you're listening. Like obviously I see numbers and stuff, but I can't attribute that to, you know, if my friends are paying attention, if I have any fans out there. Like, that's always like the crazy thing. Like, people congratulate me and be like, man, you seem like you're doing really well. It's like, I don't really see that. I don't see that turnaround. Like, I try to pay attention to like the analytics and all that stuff that social media provides, but unless people are like commenting and engaging and telling me like, hey, I really like this, or hey, this is crap. I don't care if you tell me something sucks. I'll you know, I'll take that and I'll try to do better. You know, I don't care. I'm hoping the audio from this doesn't suck. I'm just doing it on my iPhone. You know, we did a show in DC and me and my buddy Brad and all them, and we did a episode of his podcast like this. So kind of what gave me the idea. I was like, hey, like, you know, I've always thought it'd be cool. Like, there's times where I make these long drives, and wouldn't it be cool if I could just sit in my car and talk to myself like a psycho and make podcast episodes. So we'll see how this turns out. His turned out pretty good, so I'm hoping that it doesn't just sound like mega crap. But, yeah, cool. Much love, everybody. I'm almost into Richmond, and it's still a shit show out here. So I'm going to try to focus on driving. I'm listening to the new Enslow record. It's really great. I'll probably pop something else in a minute here, give that a listen. So stay safe out there.